need someone who digs deep into this stuff and does it day in, day out. So I gave very, very careful thought and consideration to who is really leading in this space in this country, who is keeping up to date on the information, because the reality is if you get out of date information in this search engine optimization space, then it can really, really, damage your business. So top of my mind was a gentleman by the name of Dave Jenyns, and he runs a company called Melbourne SEO Services. We're doing some stuff with them now as well. Can't recommend him highly enough. So without further ado, I might say welcome, Dave. Big round of applause. Thank you. All right, cheers, mate.
Fantastic. I'm very excited to give this presentation and also a little bit challenged as well. I'm excited because there's just so much that's changed with SEO over the past couple of years, and I've got a new framework that we've been working on that I'll be launching during this presentation that we haven't shared before. And I enjoy speaking early on at a conference because it helps me sort of set the tone for the rest of the event as well. So. But it does also, this presentation, have a few challenges as well. The challenges being, I've only got 60 minutes to give you everything that you need to know about SEO to do well in 2015. And it's a very complex topic. And oftentimes, a lot of my workshops, they'll go for an entire day. So to try and break that down, I needed to do the 80-20. I need to give you the 20% that is going to give you the 80% of the result when it comes to SEO. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about modern SEO. We're going to talk about authority content, what it is, how to create it, and how to syndicate it. And I want these strategies to form the cornerstone of your marketing in 2015 and beyond. We're going to really future pacing, thinking about where Google's going to make sure that you set yourself up for the best chance of success. So just to get a little bit of an idea, can you just raise your hand if you've ever done any form of SEO before? Okay, so a good number. I'll get you to keep your hand raised if you've done SEO for more than 3 years. Yep, so still good portion. And I'll get you to, of those who have been doing it for more than 3 years, leave your hand up if you're still using the same strategies and techniques that you have been using 3 years ago today. You're still using them, and you're still getting the same results that you did 3 years ago as well. Okay, one hand up the back. Okay, it's only a matter of time before Google squashes that loophole. So what we need to recognize is that the game has changed. SEO used to be the holy grail of marketing, and a lot of people have some expectations around what they believe SEO is and what SEO can achieve. And it might be because they've done SEO in the past, or they've heard someone who's done it and they've got an idea of hey, I can list out all of these keywords that I want to be ranking #1 for. I'll give it to my SEO and I'll expect them to do it. And we get that all the time, but the game has changed, and people, it's like they're SEOing like it's 2010 when we're now in end of 2014. So times have changed, and we really need to update our strategy and our thinking. And SEO can be the holy grail of your marketing. It can be a really critical component, and you need to make the determination, is it something that you're going to do, or are you going to get an external party to do it for you? And that comes down to whether or not you can make the ROI work for you. Getting an external SEO to work on your space now, it's more expensive. The landscape's a lot more competitive, and to get that results, SEO doesn't make sense for everybody unless you bring it in-house. So as we go through what I'm going to talk about here today, I'll give you what you need to do, and then in your head you can make the decision, is this something that I can embrace, or is this something that I'll need to get an external to do? So as we know, SEO has been changing. Lots of different algorithm updates. There's Penguin, there's Panda, there's Hummingbird. There are all of these different updates, plenty of different updates that haven't even been named. And the rate at which these updates are getting rolled out is increasing. Like Google just keeps updating, algorithm update after algorithm update after algorithm update. So you just need to be aware that, like the gentleman up the back that's still using the techniques that worked 3 years ago and still getting great results, that because the speed at which Google's catching up with those little loopholes, they're going to squash that. So you're much better off doing SEO that really stands the test of time and is going to last. I think the reason Google's had to do this as well, it kind of makes sense. They're fighting a lot of spammy content that's out there on the web, and they need to keep evolving their algorithm and updating things because they need to keep making sure that there's a great user experience for the end provider, because that keeps people coming back to Google, and that means they can then sell the advertising space around. So it's very important for them to make sure that they provide the best possible user experience. So we know Google's intention. Google's intention is to provide the best possible experience. So SEO, great SEO, it isn't just about SEO like it used to be. It used to be that you'd identify what keywords you wanted to rank for, you'd stuff them into a page, you'd then try and make sure that Google could crawl your website so they'd discover all of the pages on your site, and then you'd fire as many backlinks as you could to that particular page with the specific anchor text that you wanted to rank for. And magically, you'd get fantastic rankings. But the game has changed because now Google has started to get all of these algorithm updates, and they're taking into account so many more factors when it comes down to determining whether or not a site should get good online visibility. And Greg talked about quite a few of them. Now, more than ever, you need to have good user design and a user experience. Your website needs to load quickly. You need to have social in play. You need to have good quality content. You need to be syndicating that content out. And this is all part of now a modern SEO's job. And even the definition of what an SEO is has started to change. Previously, I actually interviewed a gentleman called Rand Fishkin who runs a community called Moz, very well respected in the SEO community. And he said they did some analysis on LinkedIn to have a look to see the people that used to have SEO as a profession within their profile. So they said, I am an SEO. And the number has dropped significantly now. SEO isn't a profession. People are seeing it as a skill. It's just one of the skills of many things. And part of that is because SEO now needs to encompass so many different things. It's not just about those links. It's not just about stuffing another keyword in. So then that brings up the question, well, how do we know what Google's thinking? Like, what is their algorithm? Nobody knows, and they're constantly updating it. So where do we go to find the best possible information and insight into understanding the way that Google actually works? Google. You go to the horse's mouth. So Google had this most recent document that was leaked, is the Google's quality rating guidelines for 2014. Only leaked a few months ago. This is about the 5th iteration of this document that has been leaked. So whether or not it's happening, by a Google employee or whether it's done by design, we don't know. But this gives us the best insight into what's actually going on over at Google. And I'll give you a link to be able to download this at the end of the presentation as well. I've read it numerous times, that's my job, and one of the biggest insights that I got is this new acronym, and you may or may not have heard of it. Just get an idea, has anyone heard of the EAT mantra that Google is now preaching? So, okay, this is good because this means that you're right on the leading edge of what Google's looking for, and this means that you can potentially, I don't know, I'm getting signals up the back. Okay, that further? Yeah, okay. I'm projecting my voice very well. Might need to be amplified. So the insight that we're getting from Google is that they're looking for websites and presences that demonstrate expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthy, which is this EAT mantra. And it's throughout the entire document. It flows into what Greg talks about with ZMOT, which I'll tie all of this together. But they're basically now looking for, they consider high quality pages and websites need enough expertise to be authoritative and trustworthy on their topic. Because Google's finding it hard to know who they should trust and who they should avoid. Just like when you go to the web, sometimes it's hard to tell who should you trust and who should you avoid. It's hard. So they're now relying on this idea of expert and authoritative status. And it becomes the trump card. Now, usually I like to have my presentation just full of images, and that's all I do. But I thought for this presentation, because I'm referencing a specific Google document, I'm going to take snapshots of the document itself that you can then kind of reference and grab the point numbers so when you download the document later you can see. But they basically said that a very positive reputation can be the reason for using the high rating on an otherwise medium page. What does that mean? That means it's the trump card. That means you can have other things not being quite up to standard, but if they see you as an authority, if they see you as an expert, they'll mark your page as high. It's a case of all boats float on a rising tide. And the rising tide is positioning yourself as an expert and positioning yourself as an authority. This is not the first time that we've heard Google say this. Earlier this year, Eric Schmidt came out and they had this excerpt from the book that Greg talked about, The New Digital Age. And Eric Schmidt said, within the search results, information tied to verified online profiles will be ranked higher than content without such verification, which will result in most users naturally clicking on top verified results. Now here's the kicker. The true cost of remaining anonymous then might be irrelevance. Even the most fascinating content, if tied to an anonymous profile, simply won't be seen because it's due to its excessively low ranking. Now that was a big mouthful, but I mean that's straight from Google, and now we're seeing it inside the document, the leaked document, so we know for Google this is extremely, extremely important. So, authorship, it must be the answer. Everybody's starting to see authorship pop up. We know that Google is trying to push through to Google+, and to do that, they encouraged website owners to assign their profile to a piece of content, so much so that they would even put your profile picture in the search results. And everybody's thinking, oh wow, this is the answer of what Google's looking to do. But then Google threw the curveball and they killed authorship. And they said, look, it's not really working the way that we expected it to. And then all of these SEOs start running for the hills thinking, oh, okay, maybe authorship and this EAT mantra, maybe it's not really as important as they said. They've killed it off. But what you've got to understand is Matt Cutts, who's Google's engineer, don't be fooled by this idea that they've killed authorship. Matt Cutts earlier this year had commented that authorship is now officially, or author rank, I'll give you a little bit of a distinction between the two, between authorship and author rank. Author rank is the actual calculation that is going on behind the scenes to determine whether or not you are an expert or an authority on your specific topic. And that's very much part of the algorithm. They've said it's part of the algorithm. It is going to evolve. This is still very early days. So just because we're not seeing authorship front and center doesn't mean that they're not considering it as an extremely important component of their ranking algorithm. So what is author rank? So it's still very early days, and just like all things Google, we don't have intimate understanding of the way that the algorithm works. We don't know exactly what they're looking for, and it's constantly changing. It's a moving goalpost. But what we do know from people like Matt Cutts and John Mueller, who is another Google engineer who does Hangouts and things like that, what we do know is there are different factors that they are looking at, and they're improving this algorithm and they're trying to get better at it. It's about engagement of your content, it's about comments, it's about getting shares on Google+, having the content shared and sharing with other experts in your space. This is very real, this is very happening, and this is what Google is looking for. So this needs to become a primary focus of yours. How do you position you and your business as an expert and an authority in your niche? Because as they start to further automate this, we're so early in the development of this. At the moment, they're still relying on the quality guidelines, which is very much a manual process. But they will include it inside the algorithm. And parts of it already are. So how does this quality rating guidelines that we've got actually work? How are they ranking websites? Well, it works a little bit like a scoreboard. They have a list of all of these different criteria and things that they're looking for on your website, and they get their quality raters, particularly when they're doing a manual review, to rate your website on all of these different factors, from lowest through to highest. And depending on what happens, it's like they sum that information together and give you a score, both for you as an expert, as you as an authority, for your website, and that combination is what determines your visibility online. And this is why there are so many different categories going on. And you can see just there, I've got a couple of little excerpts, and we'll drill right down into some very specific ones, because I want to give you actionable content in the time that we've got. But really, I want to just first give you the light globe moment. I want you to go, wow, I can see Dave is a trend spotter. He's got in nice and early here. He's seen where Google's headed, because that's what I'm very good at doing. And let's get in front of that and make sure that you start to build your expertise and authoritativeness in your industry. And I want you to start to change your SEO tactics and strategies. So what is modern SEO then? Because I showed you before all of the different things that it includes. There's a whole bunch of different things that are included now in determining whether or not, you know, good SEO is being applied or not. So I'm on the phone talking to clients all the time, and I find myself saying the same thing over and over and over again. So I said to my team, look, I need a video to explain very succinctly what modern SEO is. And this is this new framework that I'm launching, and this has never been seen. I'm really excited to see how it goes, so make sure that you laugh at the appropriate moments, and you'll know when that is. But let's find out what modern SEO is.
Oh, hi! Let me brighten your day and give you a lesson in online marketing.
Boring.
Here are 12 steps
Get to the point.
What about it? Here, have an apple. Apples. Hand these out, would you? Thanks, big guy. Now, the most important thing when it comes to marketing, you see, the thing is that...
The thing is, people have always wanted great quality content, but now it's more important than ever. It's the key to online marketing. So your website's compliant with best practice? All right.
I have a website.
But there's no point optimizing when you've got nothing to optimize. Or publishing rubbish, it's just bad business. So how do you generate more leads, customers, and become an authority in your industry? Well, you need a website that's fully compliant with best practice. Stop trying to game Google. Play nice, and they'll play nice back. You need great content, and lots of it. It's easier and cheaper than you think. Honestly, we can show you how to turn one day's work into months of amazing content. Then you can share it, then you can optimize. Or better yet, let us do it for you. Just follow these 3 steps and you'll be on your way. You're playing by the rules, you've made something of value, so it's something people want to share. That's the way the internet was always meant to be. And that's how you get found online. How do you like them apples?
Hey.
That's a good apple. Thanks, Mark.
It's a good track. Okay, so I'm really excited to launch that video, but you're the first to see it. So what we're going to drill down into then are these 3 topics: website, content, and sharing. And this is what it takes to win online. And I'm going to break up website into a few categories here. We'll talk about technically what you need to do. We'll talk about on-page optimization. We'll talk about off-page optimization. So we'll start with technicals first. Does anyone's website look like this? Anyone? Anyone? Good. Okay. If you haven't updated your website in the last 5 years, or really even in the last 3, or you're not mobile responsive, it's going to be hurting your rankings. So you need to make sure that your website is fully up to date. The instructions that Google gives are very, very clear. It's inside those guidelines, and they say abandoned website, spammy content, you should give that the lowest possible rating. If you're lacking in care and maintenance on your website, then you need to be marked down accordingly. So you need to find a web designer who is not a caveman. You need to make sure that your website is quick loading, responsive, and has a great user experience. Google is very aware, as is everybody else in this room, that mobile is a huge way that people are consuming online content. And they know it's a bad user experience if I'm searching on my mobile and I click the first listing, I go through to a website, and I'm waiting for 1, 2, 3, 5 seconds, and it still hasn't loaded because they haven't optimized the page. It's trying to download these big chunky images, and I'm on my 3G connection. I'm just going to hit back and go back to the search results and click number 2. That's a bad user experience. Google wants to make sure that they get you to the best, most relevant information and answer, through to your through to the content as quickly as possible. That's what they want. They want to get you to the answer of your problem in the least number of clicks. So Google has a very cool tool here, and it's worth checking out. Google is getting so much more helpful than they used to be. They used to not share a lot of information, but now we've got webmaster tools, we've got guidelines getting leaked, we've got different tools like this where they're trying to show you how to do it right. Just ask the right questions of your web developer and make sure that they're following Google's sort of best guidelines and best practices. And you can head over now, type your website into that URL there, and you can type in page speed test Google, and they'll give you things that you need to be doing to improve your website. Similarly, Google Webmaster Tools, and I'll make sure that I get a copy of these slides so you don't have to stress too much about grabbing all of the URLs. Webmaster Tools is a great resource, and that's what you need to be asking your web designer. You need to say, are you following Google's Webmaster Tools directions? They've got full instructions. I've taken a little excerpt here of what it is that they're detailing. We're talking about, they tell us front and center, quit your cloaking, stop doing your linking schemes. We hate doorway pages, scraped content. A lot of this stuff we know. Now they're calling it out front and center and saying don't do this. And more than that, it's included in their algorithm now. It's part of Penguin and Panda and Hummingbird. So now it's happening automatically. So you need to understand that Google always starts off by saying, here's what we want you to do. And then they test and measure it, and they get their quality guidelines and raters to actually put it into implementation. They prove it works, and then they look to automate it, and then they release an algorithm update. So I wonder when they're going to release the EAT mantra, you know, put that into an algorithm and roll it out. And I wonder what animal people are going to end up calling it. They will end up doing it, and it will become automated. So let's stay on the leading curve. Now, goodies rule, and I'm going to give you a little bit of goodies. We only have a limited amount of time. I can't tell you exactly what you need to do. That's why my recommendation was find a good modern web developer and make sure that they're following the guidelines. I'll also give you, at the end of this presentation, a link through to a couple of PDFs. Obviously, you can grab the guidelines, and I've got a 20-point checklist that you can go through that can help kind of navigate you and make sure that your website is compliant. So that's technically speaking. And even though you watch that short little video and at a top line level you kind of got the idea, oh, these are the steps that need to be followed to do excellent SEO, a lot of thought went into that, and we made it sound simple. That's the magic of what we do. We can take that complex and then we can break it down into the simple components. But this has been thought through at so many different levels. It has been put in this structure and this order for a reason. So step one is fix your website. Don't worry about anything else until you've got your website sorted. And part of that has to do with your on-page SEO as well. So on-page SEO, now look at this line. Pages created with the intent of luring search engines and users rather than providing meaningful content to help users should be given the lowest rating. So if you're stuffing in keywords just for the sake of trying to get a search engine positioning, Google is trying to call that stuff out, and they will rank you or bury you as deep into the search results pages as they can. So you need to make sure that you update your on-page optimization. So what is good on-page optimization? It all starts with keywords. You've heard this before. Keywords make the internet go round. I know Google's trying to change that a little bit, and they're trying to understand the intention behind a search. That's what the whole Hummingbird update was all about. For right now, though, keywords are extremely important, and they will be important for a very long time to come. So when you think about good on-page optimization, the first thing that you want to do is dump all of the keyword possibilities that you've got into a spreadsheet, into one place. Start listing out your name, your staff's name, your business name, your brands, your products. Get everything into a spreadsheet. Then head over to Google, start typing in things into their predictive search. Think about, what's my client, my prospect looking for when they come to Google? Start typing some of those keywords in and see what Google recommends and predicts. Capture that information, dump it into a spreadsheet. Run a few of the searches, scroll down to the bottom of the page, have a look for the related searches down the bottom. More suggestions from Google on the keywords that they think are relevant. Take all of this and put it into a spreadsheet. Jump into your analytics and extract as much keyword data as you can before Google gets rid of that keyword data completely with their not provided, and get as much of that data out of it as you can. If you haven't already, install some sort of site search as well on your site so you can find out, well, what are people actually searching when they get to your website? You want to take all of this and dump it into a spreadsheet, and you can use tools like Market Samurai and other different keyword research tools to help you build that list. Then what you want to do is try and prioritize that order a little bit, prioritize those keywords. You cross-check it. When we start creating content and we start to optimize our website, we want to make sure that we're optimizing for the phrases that are going to bring in the best possible clients. So we cross-check it with Google's keyword planning tool to make sure that there are some actual search volumes for the keywords that you're looking to optimize. That's actually not as important as it used to be, because you can go for very long tail phrases, and if you follow the authority content model, you'll be putting out lots of content that hits lots of different keywords. But just be data driven. Try and find out which bits get, which content and which keywords get the most engagement, and then try and think, right, how can I get even more of that traffic? Once you've done that and you've prioritized your list, then you use a tool like Screaming Frog. It's a free tool that enables you to crawl your website, and it'll come back and it'll give you all of the different pages on your website that you've got as potential candidates for optimizing. And it just makes it, we used to do this manually, but now some of the SEO spider tools will make it very easily possible to scan your website and export and dump it all into a spreadsheet. And then we start to map it. We take those keywords that we selected earlier, and we have a list of all of the pages on our website, and we mesh the two together and assign one keyword per page. And this is kind of like those first few steps. It's very important to make sure that you choose keywords that match the content of the page, because you want to make sure that there's a good message to market match. If someone types something into Google, is looking for one thing, and then you display a page on a completely irrelevant topic, then that's not a good user experience. They'll hit back, and that sends a signal to Google that you're not relevant, and we should bury that deeper. So, a little bit of a question. Do you think, with what I've just told you now, that we should optimize the privacy policy page on your website for a keyword? I'll get you to raise your hand if, okay. Let's have a little bit of a breakout session afterwards. I need to get you guys a little bit more up to speed. You don't want to be optimizing for a heavy keyword that might be one of your money keywords, even though the privacy policy page is one click away from the home page. That means it has the potential to get a lot of value in the eyes of Google, but we don't want to be optimizing it for a phrase that, you know, if I typed in like golf supplies and then I landed on a golf supplies privacy policy page, there's not a very good message to market match. So you shouldn't really be optimizing your privacy policy page for keywords. Then once you've assigned keywords to pages, then you just do classic on-page SEO, but don't overdo it. Google's getting very smart. It's one keyword per page. Put it in your title, your description, and the body content on your website. Don't try and optimize for the search engines as the first port of call. Always optimize for the user. The user comes first with your optimization. And the reason being, when Google comes to your page, it's not the one pulling out its wallet and making a purchase. It's the end user. So you always want to optimize for the end user. So you want to go through your entire website and optimize all of the pages that you've got. So we're going through the cleanup. We talked technically, getting all of your technicals right. We talked about on-page optimization and cleaning up a lot of that old SEO and making sure that we're optimizing every page on our site. Now we'll talk a little bit about off-page optimization. We need to take responsibility if we have done some bad linking practices in the past. Previously, it didn't matter so much, but now Google's really looking for you to take ownership of your link profile and have a look at who's linking to you. That's why they give you tools inside Webmaster Tools to analyze what links that you're actually getting. And you want to look through there, and if there are any links that you don't like, or maybe who's built links in the past that they might feel embarrassed to show their mother about. Go on, own up, I have too. I've built those links. Now, those are the links that you've really got to start to clean up. You may or may not have received a penalty notice from Google yet. If you have to go through the reconsideration process anyway and clean up your link profile. But even before you get that love note from Google, why not start cleaning up your profile now? Because the algorithm changes are happening one after the other, so you might as well take ownership. And they're saying, Matt Cutts is saying, you really should take ownership of your link profile. So clean it up even if you don't have a penalty. And start to focus on building up your reputation. This is all centered around that EAT mantra. Google's looking for those experts and those authorities, and they're the people that they want to display in the search engines. And they put it front and center. They want to make it easy for their quality rater guidelines, raters that go through your website, to determine who is responsible for a website, who created the content on a page. And they then want their raters to go looking around the rest of the web and look for independent, credible sources of information that back up your story that you're an expert. So that's why this reputation management and the monitoring of your links is so important. Reputation is an important consideration when using the high rating. We are not going to give your website a high rating unless you also have a very good reputation. I'll just put it around a little bit of a different way. And this plays right into the hands of what Greg was talking about with the 0 moment of truth. This marketing model that has been around for many years, Google recognized where they play an important part. And they said this 0 moment of truth, that's where we play. Google is at that spot, and they capture people just as they're in that research mode, when they're looking for reviews, when you're looking in forums, when you're looking for feedback and how other people are engaging in that content. That's where Google is most helpful, and they recognize that, and now it's becoming part of their algorithm, and that's why you want it to monitor. So it's probably time to ask yourself, how do you stack up with those things that I went through with your website? How is your website, technically speaking? Does it kind of tick a lot of those boxes? For your on-page optimization, are you doing tactics that are outdated that they're really trying to weed out with their algorithm? And your link profile, how does your link profile look? This is the first step and something that you should take the time to go through and actually clean up your website. And I think, like I said, I'll give you a checklist that can help guide you through this, but what does not following this process cause? It causes you to get an excessively low ranking and excessively low score from Google, which means it reduces your visibility online. So this needs to be the first place that you start. So number 2, we'll talk a little bit about content. So content, I now say if you don't have a content marketing strategy, you don't have an SEO strategy. They go hand in hand now. You have to be having both in place. And where content marketers go wrong versus SEOs is the content marketers are just thinking about putting out great quality content, and they're not thinking about traditional SEO and how to optimize it. That's not in their head. It's just about creating all of the best quality content that we can. Now, SEOs, on the other hand, SEOs are thinking about how can I just create content as an opportunity to create a link and build my reputation off-site. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there. Neither of them have got it right. Content marketers, if you're not SEOing your stuff, you're not getting the full advantage of the content you create. And SEOs, look, the game has changed. You've got to start putting out quality content. So earlier this year, I ran a workshop called Authority Content, and I coined a term, and I'm going to actually give you the definition for authority content. It's the act of consistently creating and distributing helpful information and stories to gain the attention, engage, and influence a clearly defined audience, with the objective being to identify those who would benefit from your product and services. Now, I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, so I will unpack that and kind of go through the important components. But authority content, I feel we were at the right place at the right time when we started talking about this, because just after we started talking about this, or mid-year, that's when Google launched their document around EAT, with the EAT mantra. And I'm so happy that we just kind of saw it coming on the front of that curve. So what's important is creating helpful content. And a good friend of mine, Tim Reed, talks about helpful marketing. And you want to be creating content that actually helps your clients and your prospects. And oftentimes it's part of that ZMOT. It gets them right where they're in that research phase, and you help them at that point in time. You capture their attention, and then you can engage with them. So here's a cosmetic surgeon that we've been working with, and we created a series of videos all around what you need to be thinking about before going through a cosmetic surgery procedure. You know, what to do if you've had a bungled cosmetic surgery procedure and how to fix it. Those types of things. We created helpful content. We even created helpful content, and we're doing it with a horse supplies company at the moment, where we're creating a wiki that is useful to their community, an A to Z of horse healthcare. And they're an e-commerce site, and that's front and center. Now, it will be front and center for their marketing in 2015. It needs to be consistent, wax on, wax off. You don't want to just create a bit of helpful content once and be helpful only once. We want to build that consistency. You want to keep adding value. You want to show people that we're here to stay and that we want to continue to serve the community. And that's really what Google wants to see, and also what your end consumer wants to see as well. By creating helpful, consistent content, you will overcome the 3 biggest hurdles when winning online: getting people's attention, holding their engagement, and building the trust. So creating good quality content gets their attention. It not only gets their attention, it's not enough to just try some SEO strategy to get a little bit of traffic. Once they get there, we need to get their engagement as well. So we need to be creating good quality content, and by doing it consistently over time, that's how we build trust. So what do you think the secret is? Like for us, for content marketing, we've discovered a little bit of a secret. What type of content do you think is going to be most engaging? Video, good. So we're all on the same page. Video is the secret. And for us, we believe this in so much, and we recognize that you need to be a media company. Every business really should have a media component inside their business. And we believe in it so much that we set up a company called Melbourne Video Production. Even though we're an SEO company and operate in some different spaces, I thought, hang on, this is a trend, it's important for the future, we need to start this company. And so we did, because it just goes hand in hand. And it's some of the lowest hanging fruit that you'll find online right now. Every company needs to be a media company. And here's why. The fact is, in 2018, 75% of all consumer traffic will be video. That's huge. And that trend is only growing. That trend is your friend. Look for trends and opportunities and ride that trend. Video represents a huge opportunity. And this is only getting accelerated by the fact that obviously there's mobile computing and tablets, and the consumption of video is increasing on those devices. But you just wait until someone, and we're so close, someone figures out how to crack the merging of TVs and consumption of online content. It's still all clunky. All of the TVs are horrible when you try and navigate around on them on your normal traditional TV to try and find videos on YouTube. When someone gets that right, we are going to see an explosion in consumption of video. Sometimes it's just about positioning yourself in the right place at the right time, and it's a case of all boats float on a rising tide. You can do video content average and you'll still do well because everything's going in that direction. So take my advice. Now, initially, when I was chatting with Greg, I was thinking about positioning this session all around authority content, but that is a full workshop in itself, and I ran a workshop for that earlier this year. You can find out about it on authoritycontent.com. If you want the short version though, Greg, in the next Internet Marketing magazine issue that we've got coming out, we talk about authority content, this process that we've developed for creating content in the most effective method, and something that positions you as an authority. And it has to do with the 3 Ps: presenting, product, and promote. So presenting is a great way to position yourself as an authority. And it doesn't necessarily mean creating a little workshop like I've got here. Some industries that doesn't make sense. Maybe you do it like we did with the cosmetic surgeon or the horse supplies company. You need to batch your content creation into one day. Then you turn that into a product, whether it's a sold product or an open source type wiki product that you can optimize and have live on your website that earns links naturally. And then the final P is the promote stage, where we take that content up, chop it up into little pieces, and then syndicate it across the web. It's an incredibly effective strategy that has caught the attention of some big players like Andrew Griffiths, Mike Rhodes, Troy Dean. I've done this method for all of these guys, and they're getting some great results. And we're doing it for our own top-end clients as well, so it's incredibly effective. So that kind of takes us through. We've now talked about the website, and we've talked about the 3 subcategories. We talked about content and how important content is now. It goes hand in hand. Finally, we need to talk a little bit about sharing. So that's just a little snapshot from the authority content, but again, just 80-20ing this for you and giving you the most important components. As Greg said, first step when creating your authority content is to put it on your blog. That needs to be the center point for all of your content creation. So post it on your website and optimize it. Then send it out to your database. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. So if you can create the initial engagement and comments, which you're most likely to get from your raving fans, do that first before you start sharing it elsewhere. So now you've got a conversation going, and when you start to share it and amplify it, like Greg was talking about, then you'll get even higher engagement. So create the content on your blog, then we can start to push it out through to the social channels. Now, which social channels should you play on? I feel like you should play on definitely the top line, but the second line down, you have to think about where your target market is. If you're looking for housewives between the ages of 30 and 40, you should be playing on Pinterest. If you're looking for teenagers between the ages of 13 and 26, you should be looking at Snapchat. If you're wanting business professionals, you play on LinkedIn. So think about your social media channels as that distribution arm for you and the first port of call for good SEO. And pick those channels right up front. And then watch SEO start to happen naturally. If you're creating good quality, authority content that gets shared and is helpful, people will engage in it, people will tweet it, people will comment it, they will pass it around the web, and you'll find SEO starts to happen naturally. And then we add that SEO layer on top of that. So rules to share by. Every piece of content that you share on the web should be optimized. And I always like to be the best example, so I'm always running different experiments. About a year and a half ago, I got married, and I did a surprise song for my wife. At the wedding, I sung a song, Adam Sandler, Grow Old With You, a cover. Does anyone know that song, Grow Old With You? Yeah. It's a good song. I won't sing it for you now, but during the break I will. And I got it recorded, and I'm always looking for an opportunity, and we took that and then we edited it down because I want to be the best example. So we recorded it, I optimized it, went for quite a long tail phrase. Now, much to my wife's displeasure, because she's a much more private person than I am, this video, less than a year, has over 53,000 views. 53,000 people have watched a little snippet of our wedding. So how did I do it? I picked a keyword, I popped it in the title, the description, and added it into the tags. Now, this same thought process, I've already told you about creating the spreadsheet. Every bit of content now that you syndicate out, where possible, you should be optimizing it. Whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on any other platform, you should be optimizing it. Think of the phrases that you want to be coming up for and use like tags and on-page optimization for everything that you put out there. And I almost felt like Greg hasn't seen my presentation, and it just so happened that this presentation is called, I had authority content front and center. I talk about amplifying the winners, because this is what you want to do from an SEO perspective. Then when we have our content, watch which pieces of content get the most engagement. Then we layer SEO over the top. We do PDF sharing, press releases, turning the content into infographics and guest posts, and a whole host of other things that we do. And you do it on the most popular content. And then you watch the good stuff start to rise to the top. But I've got to put a little bit of a disclaimer here, because I know there's going to be someone, if I didn't say this, who would come up to me during the break and say, "You suggested in your presentation doing guest posts." And you were going to be that man, but I'll answer it. You suggested doing guest posts, but Matt Cutts came out and said, hey, we are targeting guest posts specifically because guest posts are spammy and low quality. And it's a valid comment, but we need to dig deeper what Google's actually trying to do. Google is not looking to weed out guest posts or any other insert tactic. You know, it's the latest and greatest marketing tactic where people say, oh, this is now dead. Now find out what the new thing is. And what they're actually trying to target is low quality versions of those things. Low quality, spammy, manipulative guest posts. If CNN came to me and said, we want to give you a guest post on our homepage and we'll link back to your website, I'm not going to say to them, oh, look, sorry, Matt Cutts said that might actually hurt my link profile, so I'm going to have to knock that back. Well, there you go. Matt Cutts has now taken that back, so he's obviously seen my presentation, which is good. So, and this really is the utopia of online marketing. And it's about creating good quality content, it's about sharing it around the web, and it's about getting engagement from people. So what does this actually look like in the real world, and what are the actual results? So we've been applying authority content through to our website, and my strategy starts with video. So I'll just give you a snapshot of the video. At the moment, our YouTube channel just crossed the 1 million view mark. I've got another one in the stock market niche, which I used to be involved in, which is approaching the 3 million views mark. Just in the last 12 months, we had close to 250,000 views on my content. We had close to 11,000 hours of content watched. That's 659,006 minutes worth of content. And that's right at the start of the funnel. Now, the brilliant thing about this is when you're putting out great quality content, it pre-sells the people consuming it. And YouTube is our third biggest referrer through to our website. And when people pick up the phone and call, they're not calling up to say, how much do you cost? Or, you know, they're calling up to say, we already recognize, this is the subtext, they don't actually say this, we already recognize that you are an expert, you've demonstrated it, you're helpful, and you've done it over a prolonged period of time. How can we work together? And it's a much better position to be in. So what did this guy teach me about viral videos? This guy, his name is Raul, he's a Romanian engineer, and he's done some pretty cool projects. He's built a jet-powered bike. He sent a little Lego model up into space and attached a hot air balloon to it and a GoPro, and then recovered the footage and uploaded that. And he teamed up with a Melbourne-based marketer called Steve Sammartino. And Raul wanted to do something really big. Like, Raul wanted to create something that caught the attention of the world. So he came up with this idea, and Steve had been talking to him and helped doing some of these other little projects. And he said, okay, well, we're going to need to get some funding for this. So Steve put out this tweet and said, I've got this top secret project that I want some investors to come along on. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm interested. So I replied back to the tweet, and he sent me out this little prospectus, and he said, look, I want you to send me some money. You deposit it into my PayPal account. There's a very good chance that you'll never see this money again, and most likely it will fail. But it has the potential of being really, really big. And I think it's something that we need to do to capture the hearts and minds of the world. So what did I do? I sent him money to his PayPal account and got involved in this project. And Raoul had this idea of building a life-size Lego car that was powered by air. That's a photo there of it, and you can see everything except for the load-bearing struts and the wheels, everything else is made of Lego. Even the engine of, I think it's like 260 pistons that are powered by compressed air that go in and out. He built this over the course of 18 months in his little cave over in Romania. And then, with these backers, ourselves included, we shipped the car back to Australia. And we flew Raoul over. And in the shipping, as we moved it over back to Australia, it got pretty dinged up. So we needed to rebuild it. So that was me actually going in, and I'm happy to say I rebuilt the side fender on that car. So I can say that I helped build this Lego car. And we recorded the video. I got my team from Melbourne Video Production to go out early one morning. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning in the burbs out in Melbourne, because we couldn't get Vic Roads to give us a permit for us to drive this on the road. So we needed to find a little back alley to drive it up on the road. And then this is what we captured. Background with the little drone, that's me. We didn't use any of the drone footage, it was horrible. So what did I learn from this Lego car experiment that earned 4 million views in 30 days, that got picked up by over 150 different media outlets over the world, that got a ridiculous amount of media coverage, so many different videos, and it was a great thing to be a part of and be right in the epicenter as this thing is exploding. But it taught me a really valuable lesson. Just making a viral video doesn't mean that you're going to make ridiculous amounts of money. It's not going to deposit large amounts of cash into your bank account. It's not enough. I make more money, 10, 100, 1,000 times more from my authority content, consistently being dripped out over a period of time following the authority content model. It is so much more effective, and I identify which bits are doing well, and I amplify the winners, and I double down on that. So my 38,000 views, not nearly as impressive as the 5 million views, does significantly better. So we talked about in the wrap-up, we talked about EAT and how important it is to position yourself as an expert in your niche. We talked about getting your website right, step 1. we talked about creating great quality content that people actually want to consume, and then we talked about sharing that around the web. So now, from everything that you've learned, this can be one of those turning points, one of those defining moments that you look back on and go, wow, attending that event for me set me on a course that just completely changed my way of thinking online. So it's time to stop distributing rubbish and start publishing great quality, authoritative content. Now, as I mentioned at the start, I'll give you some goodies. Everybody loves goodies. They're the goody yum-yums. You can head over to melbourneseoservices.com/goodies and you can download the report, the 20-point authority checklist that I've put together, and also you can grab a copy of the quality guidelines that Google's put out as well. So that's melbourneseoservices.com/goodies. And that is a wrap.